What's up, Rad family? I've been pretty darn vocal about my love for all things zombie related. In fact, one of my all-time personal favorite video game series is Telltale's The Walking Dead. It was announced this past E3 that a mini-series will be released sometime this fall, so I figured now would be the perfect time to go over some super radtastic facts I think you should know about the video game series. Fair warning, there are going to be some major spoilers. I hope you like this video, I hope you find it informative or interesting, or why not both, so let's get to it. Number 1, while Telltale's The Walking Dead is set in the same world as Robert Kirkman's comic series, most of the characters are original to the video game. Number 2, since the game follows the comics, the first season and the zombie apocalypse both began on July 20th, 2003. Number 3, in Telltale fashion, the game unfolds in many different ways depending on the decisions you make. One of the decisions you can make is to stay silent, but at certain parts of the game, if you do choose not to speak, the game will remain paused until you choose another option, or, and more irritatingly, you'll respond to before the question was asked, forcing you to answer again. Number 4, like the TV series that has a talk show titled The Talking Dead, which recaps the episode's major and minor events, the game has a web series called Playing Dead with the same concept. Number 5, to garner interest in the first season, Telltale hosted a contest in which 4 people who pre-ordered the game would be randomly selected to be used as inspiration for zombies. They can be found in the episode No Time Left as Lee makes his way to the Marsh House. And one super lucky winner would be turned into a minor but living character who would die and ultimately be turned into a zombie. The grand prize winner was Bree Rosenholm, who the character Bree was based on. Bree appears in the episode Around Every Corner as a human, and then again in the episode No Time Left as a zombie. Talk about some major bragging rights. Number 6, while the player sees through the eyes of Lee in Season 1, he wasn't made a priority in the beginning stages of development. Developers focused on creating Clementine before Lee because the designers wanted a character that would act as a moral compass for Lee as he progressed through the game, which makes this next fact even more interesting. Number 7, though they created Clementine first, they almost put her on the chopping block because Telltale was worried players wouldn't make a strong enough connection with her. They totally made the right call by keeping her because the sweet but tough Clementine stole our hearts. Number 8, even more shocking than the thought of no Clementine is the thought of no Lee. Reportedly, Telltale had plans for Clementine's brother to be the main character, but they decided to ditch the idea of an already formed bond and instead focus on the building of a new relationship, because it gave the player more of a choice on how they wanted the two to interact with each other, and it gave us a chance to get to learn the characters' independent backstories. Number 9, let's be real for a moment. I absolutely love this game. It's actually one of my personal favorite games of all time. That being said, there are a lot of decisions made during this game. So much so that it would be quite the tedious task to keep replaying the game to follow all the different decision paths. But lucky for us, and our thumbs, we don't have to do that. Besides watching tons of different Let's Plays here on YouTube, there are graphs you can find online that have collected all of the choices and corresponding outcomes throughout the game so that you can easily and quickly run through the different paths. Number 10, this series is incredibly popular. According to Telltale, as of this year, a mind-blowing 44 million episodes have been sold. That's a lot of people playing this game. Number 11, since the release of the DLC 400 Days, it has been discovered that several audio clips and plot-changing decisions had been removed from the final cut. One such deleted sequence involves Dee and Leland. Apparently, they were to have one last conversation as she lay dying in his arms. But for some reason, they decided to scrap the scene and she died before he even got to her. That pulls on the heartstrings. Number 12, to start up the hype train for the DLC 400 Days, Telltale took to social media to show the faces of new characters before they were officially confirmed. Each bind was strategically assigned a day to correspond with the character in the DLC. Number 13, there are quite a few Easter eggs hiding in 400 Days. One such Easter egg can be found in Shell's story. On the shelf in the diner is a jar of Benang, a reference to Telltale series Sam and Max. Number 14, another Easter egg can be found on the notice board in the beginning of the DLC. There appears to be a picture of a man that bears a striking similarity to Walter White from AMC's Breaking Bad. Number 15, since there are so many choices to be made in this game, minor consequences of previous decisions will reappear throughout the story. One such consequence depends on if you choose to save Doug or Carly in Season 1. Whichever one you did choose to save, they will unfortunately appear as a rotting corpse being eaten away by maggots on the roadside in Russell's story. Why you gotta play us like that, Telltale? Number 16, another variance in the storyline that depends on your decision appears in Shell's story. The cancer patients mentioned to the group about stealing Kenny's boat in the episode No Time Left. Depending on if you left anyone to guard the boat, they'll mention them by their features. So if you chose Kenny, they'll say guy with the mustache. And if you chose to leave behind Omid and Krista, they'll say woman and her boyfriend. And if you picked Ben to guard the boat, they'll say the teenage kid. I know it's a pretty insignificant exchange, but I think it's these super tiny details that make the game so great, because it reminds you how in control the player is. Number 17, you can see more consequences of your actions during the credits. One of which is Justin or Danny being devoured by walkers just outside the bus, having tried to drag himself to safety. In another super small detail, you can see the bloody trail left by their severed foot on the road during Bonnie's story. That's super disgusting and super awesome. Number 18, though developers made sure to include small details like the previous facts mentioned, there are still a few glitches and errors to be found in the game. One can be found in Vince's story. If you chose to shoot off Danny's foot, Vince's right hand goes through his handcuffs when you pull the trigger, and Justin's handcuffs magically disappear when he and Vince exit the bus, despite the fact that they never retrieved the keys to unlock them. I can only imagine how annoyed the game designers must have been when this was discovered. Number 19, another more irritating glitch can be found in Russell's story. If the player looks up for too long while checking to see where Walt is shooting from, Russell will duck back down at Nate's command, but then Nate will be shot and killed by Walt, resulting in a game over. The game unfortunately saves just before he is killed, meaning the player is stuck and has to rewind back to a previous part of the story. I'm sure this glitch caused many rage quits. Number 20, like the jar of Benang in the diner, another homage to Telltale's previous series, Sam and Max, is made with the naming of Sam the dog. Number 21, this next fact definitely seems to be a bit wacky. During the earlier development of the second season, the writers considered writing in a scene where a tiger made an appearance. When the writers are asked about why the tiger ended up on the writing room floor, they said it was simply because they didn't think it was realistic enough to be put into the story. Number 22, for the ending of Season 2, there are a whopping 7 different endings to wrap up the storyline, and it all boils down to the fight between Kenny and Jane. Number 23, though there are countless choices to be made in Season 2 that decided who lived and who died at certain points in the storyline, the only 3 confirmed survivors by the end of the game do not depend on your choices. Clementine, Edith, and Alvin Jr. The only choice you do get to make that impacts who lives and whose fate is pretty much undecided is between Kenny and Jane. Number 24, Telltale's The Walking Dead is incredibly dialogue driven, one of the main reasons why it's my favorite video game series. So it should come as no surprise that there is a long list of characters to accompany all that dialogue. In Season 1 alone, there are a total of 45 notable characters. 22 unique characters appear in the DLC 400 Days, and a crazy 44 characters are added to the long roster in Season 2. Number 25. This next fact will most likely invoke one of two responses from you. You'll either absolutely love it and it makes you super duper pumped for the third season, or if you're like me, this will cause a little bit of panic and will make you quite anxious to see the first trailer. During the Playing Dead interview of the finale of The Walking Dead Season 2, Sean Ainsworth and Dennis Leonard stated that the third season is going to feature a new angle from the story. Maybe I'm being a bit too dramatic, but those words automatically make me think a new cast, which to me means no Clementine. Hopefully I'm wrong and they just mean it either jumps in time or to a new place and our girl will still have a big part in the plot. Number 26. The Walking Dead Michonne was confirmed on June 15th at E3 and is an upcoming miniseries and will consist of only 3 episodes. As a big fan of Michonne, I am so excited for this miniseries to be released this fall, and I love that Telltale is giving us a little something something between the seasons. I keep checking IGN every single day hoping that a trailer or some sort of new information will be released, but you know, it hasn't, so yeah. Number 27. Another bit of information about Season 3 comes from an E3 discussion with Greg Miller and Job Stoffer, during which Stoffer, or is it Staffer, implied that Season 3 will be a long ways off and considerably larger, that's a lot of air quotes, I apologize, than previous seasons. He also revealed that they are currently trying to figure out who the protagonist will be and how the story will cohesively blend Season 2 and the Michonne miniseries. We'll have to take the good with the bad on this one. On one hand, we're going to have to wait a bit longer, but on the other, it'll totally be worth it because we're going to have a much longer game. So I guess I'll just have to work on my patience, or I'll just keep refreshing IGN. Number 28. Though we don't know much about the storyline yet, it has been revealed that the story explores Michonne's untold journey between issues number 126 and number 139. I had to breathe, that was a lot to say in one breath. It said we will discover what took Michonne away from Rick and the rest of her trusted group and what brought her back. It sounds very dramatic and ominous, and I have a hunch this may be my favorite installment yet. Number 29. Though the Michonne miniseries won't be included in the season pass for Season 2, it will still require at least the first episode to be installed on your system in order to play. This info is very interesting because it tells us at least some of our decisions will carry over into the new storyline somehow. And there you have it, 29 super Radtastic facts about Telltale's The Walking Dead I think you should know. If you liked this video and you thought it was interesting or informative, please give it a big thumbs up and let me know down in the comments which game you're most excited for, the Michonne miniseries or Season 3. And if you're not yet part of this Radtastic community, well, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and join today. Until next time, bye! 21. I'm so disappointed in myself. My hair was so flat. I hope you find this video interesting or informative, or why not both? Nope, no one? Little gif of the tacos? No? Okay. Well, anyways.